Tell us his story.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey guys. Okay, for those of you that don't know me, which is probably most of you, other than my parents and my sister, and a couple of the people I met at the table, my name is Greg, and I'm a former student at James Camron, and I'm just going to kind of share a little story with you guys on how JCS helped me and kind of where I'm at today. But before I do that, just a couple thank yous. Just a thanks to Shannon and everybody at the Lazy Gourmet. Can we just put our hands together for this amazing food? Awesome, yeah, thanks guys, it's delicious. Quick thanks to Penny for organizing this. She's taken over for Mrs. Mapp, and she's done a great job. Just a quick round of applause for Penny and all the staff. Three other ladies I just got to give a quick thanks to. They were basically, so Mrs. McDonald, Mrs. S, or Mrs. Storteboom and Mrs. Fleming, they're not here today. Some of you might know them. Mrs. Fleming was my tutor at James Camron for all those years. She was the person that really kind of got me through it. So just a round of applause for the three of those ladies. And obviously I gotta thank my parents, Peter and Diana. Maybe if you guys can just stand up over there. I wouldn't be here today without those two. Obviously they're having me, but you got me to James Camron. That was amazing. Thank you so much guys, I love you. Maybe just a quick show of hands here. How many people in this room actually have dyslexia? That's it? Wow. What about a child with dyslexia? Okay, we have a couple more there. And how many here went to JCS? Looking for former students, I see one over there. Wow, okay, not too many. How many people here are just here for the food and the silent auction? Most of you. Perfect. That's what I thought, okay. I don't remember this conversation, but I was talking to my dad 2 weeks ago, kind of preparing for this. And I kind of asked him, you know, what was it like for him, and this is sort of how it went. So I remember these days. I remember coming home from school in kindergarten, but I don't remember this particular conversation. But my dad was giving me a bath one night, and he looked in my eyes, and I looked really sad, and he said, "Greg, what's wrong?" And I began crying, and I said, "Dad, I hate school. I'm a jerk, and I don't want to live anymore." For a child in kindergarten to say this, I think that's a really kind of a shocking statement, and my parents were mortified. So they began asking questions, and they went to the school system, and they said, you know, what's going on here? So they had me tested, and the conclusion was that I had a lack of intelligence because my parents were older in age. I'm not sure what horrified them more, my statement or the one from the school system, but I can assure you that if you wait to have kids and you wait a little bit longer, that your kids will turn out okay and they'll be perfectly intelligent, so you don't have to worry about that. So according to Dr. Klein, I had a severe case of dyslexia, about a 7 or an 8 out of 10. He said it could be treated, but I would learn to read, but my spelling would always be a challenge. And that's basically been true. So I have been able to learn and read, but I do still struggle to spell. But lucky for me, I happen to have my mom who turned out to be a professional editor. Yeah. She actually worked in the court system editing transcripts, which for a dyslexic, to think about editing transcripts all day, to me is probably the most horrifying job that you could ever possibly imagine. But she's really good at it and she likes it, and turns out I had somebody to edit all my important documents for me, and she still does to this day. And I think the best part is it turns out you don't charge your kids for that service. So, thanks, Mom. I now almost completely rely on having professional editors to check and improve my writing. I used to feel ashamed about this, I think because the school system puts so much emphasis on being able to spell, but as an entrepreneur and business person, I feel that outsourcing things that you're not good at and focusing on what you are good at is extremely important to the success of any company or any team. And unfortunately, that's not really a skill that's taught. I always had a knack for leadership and organization. I think most dyslexics have certain skills that make them extremely effective in adulthood. Often you see these qualities kind of manifest themselves at a young age. So for me, when I was in grade 4, I had a significant problem. In fact, a bunch of us in grade 4 had a problem. The grade 7ers were the top dogs, and they would always pick on us and call us names, and they'd do the old pull a chair from out under you trick and stuff like that. So I got kind of fed up with this one day, and I decided I had to find a solution. So my solution was to form my own police force. I'm not kidding, like I actually formed a police force. This is what I was going to do. So at recess time, I set up an obstacle course, and all the would-be candidates, they had to go through this course. So boot camp started, and it was monkey bars, crawling through the sand, over the tires, and up the ladder to the finish. Candidates were timed. I made sure that I timed them, and only the top scores would be taken. Unfortunately, there was one boy who had a lot of heart, but he never quite finished on time, and he didn't pass. But anyway, Travis, I don't think he's here tonight, but I'm really sorry, and I have a badge for you somewhere. So I would actually stay up late cutting out badges for all the people that passed. So we formed this task force, and so we swore to stick together and defend the lower grades against the older kids. However, there was one kind of unexpected consequence to this that I didn't anticipate. Being a school of only 50 people, or 50 students, more or less, it didn't take long before I had 50 applications on my lunchbox, including those that we were sworn to defeat. So I graduated high school with honors, and I became a certified millwright. I did 6 years working as a millwright before the recession, and at that point I didn't have a job, so I decided to follow one of those kind of boyhood dream in the schoolyard, and I joined the Canadian Forces and was off to basic training 3 months later. I was posted to the 3rd Battalion of Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, and my study of leadership became a kind of a fully immersive experience, and I was woven into the DNA of the best light infantry regiment in Canada. I learned things including how cold it really gets here in this country. I mean, most of us that live in Vancouver don't experience this, but I assure you, it gets very cold in Canada. There was an exercise I spent 7 days and nights sleeping in a tent in minus 50, getting as little as 2 hours of sleep a night. I trained as a mentor in preparation for a mission to Afghanistan. Luckily, I never deployed to the war zone. But instead I found myself jumping out of aircraft. So I qualified as a paratrooper in the jump company, and I did a total of 10 jumps, 2 of which were at night, and I still regard that as one of my greatest accomplishments in life. I left the military 3 years later, completing my terms of service, and went back to civilian life. The need to push the limits and challenge myself has never left me. I have rock climbed all over the world, raced dirt bikes, climbed mountains, and I recently paraglided off the Squamish Chief. I took over ownership of Venture Marine in April of this year, and this marks my latest journey into the world of entrepreneurship. Putting together all those skills, learned to grow this company and take it to new heights. I'm also working on a project to help adults with dyslexia. I want to raise awareness of the disorder. After meeting with Penny only a few weeks ago, I decided to launch gregup.com. I named the project The Dyslexic Advantage: Why It's Not a Learning Disability. My goal is to provide a free resource tailored for dyslexics, mainly young adults and adults, to teach the important skills of leadership, communication, money management, investment, personal development, and confidence building. I strongly feel that people with dyslexia are natural leaders, problem solvers, creative thinkers, and a huge asset to the modern world. Many don't realize just how skilled they actually are, and they often settle for less than their best. So I've approved the donation of 1% of Adventure Marine's profits to go directly to James Camron. So that'll be effective basically from this point till next year. get a chance to kind of give back a little bit. I've also donated a couple items at a silent auction. So we've got a boat seat and a boat stabilizer. So I don't know how many boat people there are here. This is probably only applicable to you guys. But if you have boats, feel free to talk to me about those items and I can tell you a little bit about them. All the proceeds are going to go to James Camron, obviously. So anyway, I just wanted to thank all of you for listening to me and letting me tell my story. If there's any former students, please come find me in the back. If you want to talk more about Adventure Marine or gregup.com, I'm looking for anybody that's got a story about dyslexia or what they did to overcome it or anything like that. So I just want to connect with you. Again, thanks to Penny, thanks to everybody. James Camron, I wouldn't be